If Amanda Seyfried hadn't turned down the role of Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Marvel Cinematic Universe would have looked quite different. Seyfried initially rejected the role because she was hesitant about the extensive makeup process and doubted the film's success, fearing it would be a flop. In the interview with Josh Horowitz, the speaker reflects on their decision not to join the Guardians of the Galaxy cast. They also mentioned hearing Jennifer Lawrence's experience with the heavy makeup and the toll it took, which made them even more reluctant. The actor admits that they were also wary of committing to living in London for half the year, as it would interfere with their life plans. There was another film they were more interested in at the time, A Million Ways to Die in the West, with Seth MacFarlane, which seemed like a better fit for them at that moment. Another big reason for their hesitation was the fear of the Marvel movie flopping. They thought that a movie about a talking tree and raccoon, characters from Guardians of the Galaxy, would be Marvel's first failure, which might negatively impact their career. In their mind, taking a role in that could lead to them and Chris Pratt being written off, which would hurt their future prospects. But looking back, they acknowledged that their fears were unfounded, as Guardians of the Galaxy became a massive success, and they admitted to being wrong about the project's potential. They also commended James Gunn for his genius and ability to make seemingly ridiculous concepts work, giving him credit for the movie's success. They are at peace with their decision, saying it was the right call for them at the time. They emphasized that they did not regret anything about their decision-making process. They also expressed appreciation for the people who did take on the roles, particularly Zoe Saldana and Chris Pratt, who were able to have an amazing experience and thrive in the film. Ultimately, they felt proud to have trusted their gut and stuck with their instincts. This interview offers a nuanced view of the actors' thought process, showing how fear and uncertainty shaped their decisions. It's clear that they made a choice based on what felt right at the time, and they have no regrets even if hindsight shows the movie was a huge success. The reflection is both candid and mature, showcasing how sometimes it's hard to see the bigger picture when you're in the moment. For those of you who have already subscribed over the last couple of months, thank you guys so much. We've been gaining subscribers here at Maxiverse Twist, and if you have not already, I also noticed that 99.6% is watching in this channel have not yet subscribed already. I would just kindly invite you to do so. It's like the #1 thing you can do to support me as a content creator in the channel, and of course, you gotta be subbed to see more latest updated videos. Here's how things might have played out if she had accepted. Different take on Gamora. Zoe Saldana brought a fierce and intense energy to Gamora, making her a strong yet emotionally complex warrior. Seyfried, known for her work in Mean Girls, Mamma Mia, and Les Miserables, might have given Gamora a softer, more vulnerable portrayal rather than the hardened assassin we got. Chemistry with the cast. The dynamic between Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, and Zoe Saldana worked incredibly well, helping to build the emotional weight of their romance. Seyfried might have had a different chemistry with Pratt, potentially shifting the tone of their relationship. Career impact: Zoe Saldana became a major sci-fi icon thanks to her roles in Guardians of the Galaxy, Avatar, and Star Trek. If Seyfried had taken Gamora, it could have reshaped her career, possibly making her a bigger action star or changing the roles she pursued afterward. No Zoe Saldana in the MCU? If Seyfried had been Gamora, Zoe Saldana might have taken on a different major franchise or even another role within Marvel. It's possible she could have been cast as another MCU character later on. Would Guardians have been as successful? Seyfried's hesitation about the movie flopping was completely wrong. Guardians of the Galaxy became a massive hit. However, casting changes can affect audience reception. Would Seyfried have delivered the same balance of toughness and emotional depth? It's hard to say, but the character would have felt very different. Ultimately, Marvel made the right call with Zoe Saldana, but it's fascinating to think about what could have been if Seyfried had stepped into the role. Do you think she would have made a good Gamora? Here are some interesting fan theories about what could have happened if Amanda Seyfried had played Gamora instead of Zoe Saldana, a more lighthearted Gamora. Amanda Seyfried is often associated with roles that have a softer, more whimsical charm. Mamma Mia, Mean Girls. Some fans believe that if she had played Gamora, the character might have been written with a slightly more humorous or lighthearted personality, making her interactions with the Guardians even more comedic. A different Star-Lord and Gamora romance, Zoe Saldana and Chris Pratt had great on-screen chemistry, balancing Gamora's no-nonsense attitude with Star-Lord's goofiness. If Seyfried had taken the role, some fans speculate that their romance might have had a more awkward or playful dynamic, perhaps resembling a nerdy girl meets charming rogue trope, rather than a badass warrior falls for a misfit hero. Could Seyfried have been Nebula instead? Some fans theorize that Marvel might have still wanted Zoe Saldana in the MCU, possibly casting her as Nebula instead of Karen Gillan. This would have completely changed the sister dynamic, potentially making Nebula more aggressive and Gamora more reserved. A butterfly effect on other MCU castings. If Amanda Seyfried had been Gamora, could it have led to other MCU casting changes? Some speculate that another actress might have taken her place in Les Miserables or other projects, which could have affected the casting of future Marvel roles. Different Endgame fate? Gamora's tragic death in Avengers. Infinity War was a pivotal moment for Thanos' arc. Some fans think that if Seyfried had played her, Marvel might have tweaked the storyline to avoid killing off a softer version of the character, possibly keeping her alive and changing Endgame's events. Here are some interactive endings exploring what could have happened if Amanda Seyfried had played Gamora instead of Zoe Saldana. 1. Gamora's personality shift. If Seyfried played Gamora with a softer, more empathetic personality, Thanos might have struggled to sacrifice her in Infinity War. If Seyfried played a more sarcastic and reluctant assassin, her relationship with Star-Lord might have been more comedic. 2. Thanos can't sacrifice Gamora. Thanos, seeing a more vulnerable and compassionate Gamora, hesitates at the Soul Stone's cliff. He realizes he cannot kill her and instead sacrifices Nebula. The universe remains unbalanced, and Thanos fails in his mission. 3. A comedic love story. Seyfried's Gamora and Star-Lord have a more awkward, rom-com-style relationship. Their chemistry makes Guardians of the Galaxy feel like an action-packed romantic comedy. The Soul Stone's Plan B. Without Gamora's death, the Soul Stone remains hidden. Thanos only gathers 5 stones and faces the Avengers without the ability to snap half the universe. The Avengers strike first, seeing Thanos hesitate. The Avengers ambush him, taking the gauntlet before he can act. They use the stones to erase him instead. Gamora survives and leads the Guardians in a new adventure without the weight of Thanos' legacy. The MCU moves forward with Gamora still alive, leading to new possibilities. 6. The Guardians rom-com era Marvel leans into the comedic chemistry between Seyfried's Gamora and Star-Lord. They get a dedicated love story arc in Phase 4, becoming the MCU's signature romantic duo. Would you watch a Marvel romantic comedy starring Star-Lord and Gamora? 7. Gamora's inevitable fate. Despite her lighter personality, Seyfried's Gamora still meets the same tragic fate in Infinity War. However, fans view her death as even more heartbreaking due to her more emotional connection with Star-Lord. Would this version of the story have made Endgame even more powerful? 8. Thor wins. Instantly with Thanos missing a crucial stone, Thor successfully kills him, and the snap never happens. The universe never loses half its life, but the Avengers never experience the emotional growth that came from Endgame's time travel arc. Would this have robbed the MCU of one of its greatest storylines? 9. Thanos finds a new way. Instead of collecting the Soul Stone, Thanos turns to an alternative plan, perhaps stealing Captain Marvel's powers or using another cosmic force. The Avengers now face a new, unexpected villainous strategy. Would this have made Thanos even scarier? Here are some fan expectations if Amanda Seyfried had played Gamora instead of Zoe Saldana, a more elegant or mystical Gamora. Many fans might have expected Seyfried to bring a more ethereal or mystical presence to Gamora, similar to her roles in Les Miserables and Red Riding Hood. Instead of a hardened warrior, Gamora could have had a more emotionally complex, almost tragic backstory, making her relationship with Thanos even more dramatic. A different fighting style. Zoe Saldana brought an aggressive, agile combat style to Gamora, making her feel like a true assassin. Fans might have expected Seyfried to have a more acrobatic or strategic fighting approach, maybe relying on agility and precision rather than brute force. A stronger love story with Star-Lord. With Seyfried's background in romance-heavy movies like Mamma Mia and Dear John, fans might have expected Gamora and Star-Lord's relationship to have a more emotional and heartfelt arc, possibly with deeper romantic moments rather than playful banter. A potentially softer dynamic. With Nebula fans may have expected a different sisterly rivalry between Gamora and Nebula. Instead of the bitter violent conflict we saw in the MCU, Seyfried's Gamora might have shown more immediate compassion toward Nebula, leading to a reconciliation much earlier in the story. A lighter, more quirky Gamora, Seyfried's history and comedy, Mean Girls, could have led fans to expect a Gamora who plays off the Guardians' humor differently, perhaps with a more sarcastic or awkward energy rather than being the team's serious warrior. A more musical Gamora? Given Seyfried's singing background, some fans might have jokingly hoped for a scene where Gamora unexpectedly joins in on one of Star-Lord's musical moments, adding a whole new dynamic to the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. A more emotional Endgame fans may have anticipated that if Seyfried played Gamora, her Infinity War death scene would have been even more heartbreaking, emphasizing her vulnerability and making her loss hit even harder. Would you have expected a totally different version of Gamora if Seyfried had taken the role? That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe for more exciting Maxiverse Twist content.